When he first came, he went on a surf lesson with other members, and unfortunately, just a basic surf lesson, he was in bed for about a week. We had to get a different bed for him that was more firm, and I know it was really traumatic and difficult. You know, when you're in your early 20s and you can't, do some basic things, it can be really, really difficult.
Yes, maybe it was a surfing injury in Hawaii that led Luigi Mangione to assassinate a corporate CEO. You got that going for you. The Democrats love murder. When did did they always love murder? Have they always, I guess they did create the Confederate States of America and the KKK, the Symbionese Liberation Army. They're often overlooked, the Symbionese Liberation Army. I like to keep them in mind. They are the people of Jonestown, the Jonestown, Guyana mass suicide. That's your Democrat Party. And what else do they have going for them? They've got a lot going for them. Now they have Luigi Mangione going for them, which is pretty amazing stuff. What do they feel joy, right? They feel joy, and they admire him greatly. Did you see there are posters going up around Washington, D.C., that Democrats are putting up on, what are they putting them up on, junction boxes and things like that? The Democrats with posters, they're gluing them to things. It's kind of like a graffiti thing, but a little bit different. They love to put up these flyers and posters, and they're putting up these full-color photographs of their boy, and he's their boy, Luigi Mangione, and he's pointing the gun at a corporate CEO, terrible insurance company CEO, just before shooting him to death in an assassination. And the Democrats are putting up these posters around Washington, D.C. with a full-color photo of Luigi about to shoot the corporate CEO, Brian Thompson, and with the giant word on the bottom of the poster, hope, H-O-P-E, in giant white letters with a black background beneath the full-color photo of Luigi on the brink of shooting and killing the corporate CEO. And there are multiple locations around the city. My friend Tim sent me a couple of photographs yesterday of these posters that have been glued up around the city of Washington. And here's the assassination of a corporate CEO. And the word hope, wasn't that Barack Obama's word? Wasn't that? And that leads us to Obamacare, because Luigi is 26 years old. And when you're 26 years old, according to Obamacare, that's when your parents, and he has well-to-do parents, that's when your parents can no longer carry you on their family insurance plan, according to Obamacare. And Luigi, as we know, he's off to Bali, and he's off to Hawaii, and he's surfing in Hawaii and injuring his back and a surfing accident in Hawaii, and on and on. And so is it Obamacare that is responsible for the assassination of Brian Thompson, the CEO of United Healthcare, the insurance branch, because the timing is conspicuous. We actually had a brilliant listener call in yesterday. He was up on the big board. His name was up on the big board, and he didn't get on the air, I'm sorry to say. I wish everybody could get on the air. But he wanted to say, hey, maybe it's Obamacare that got the CEO killed, because maybe Luigi, it's funny that his name is Luigi, isn't it? I think that makes it, almost more fun. It's Luigi, 26 years old. He had a back injury and surgery. Was he just taken off of his parents' insurance because of a provision in Obamacare? Did Obama kill the CEO? I think is what it comes down to. The Wall Street Journal has a piece today, The Madness of Luigi Mangione. The Madness of Luigi Mangione. And they're talking about not just the madness of Luigi Mangione, but also the cultural sickness that it represents. And I think that's an important discussion to have, the Wall Street Journal having it. It's a dreadful sign of the times. And I'll share a bit more of that Wall Street Journal piece with you as well, because good points being made here in the Wall Street Journal about the sickness that our culture is dealing with right now, the many sicknesses that our culture is dealing with right now. And who's responsible for all this, Michael? It's the it's the Democrats. They fixed health care, didn't they? And they just upend health care, turn it upside down and shake it like a pillowcase and dump the pieces of health care all over the ground and then not really reassemble them in a sensible, logical, adult way. And now we've got the left celebrating assassinations. And I started thinking about this because the Democrats, they are the party of assassinations. When it comes to American presidents, 4 American presidents have been assassinated, and 3 of them were Republicans, including the first Republican ever to be elected president, and that's Abraham Lincoln, killed by a Democrat that loved slavery, as they all did. Now they just love lots of illegal aliens for cheap labor that they don't have to be responsible for. It's kind of the same thing, but updated for the 21st century. Remarkable stuff. Speaking of assassination, President Trump was shot through the ear in Butler, Pennsylvania by an angry Democrat with a rifle. He was then shot and killed by a U.S. Secret Service counter sniper. Nice shot by him. A second would-be Trump assassin is due in court today in Florida. The one that was lurking outside of President Trump's golf course in West Palm Beach. And he's due back in, his name is Routh. And he's due back in court today because we haven't heard a lot about him. The news media doesn't really cover this stuff. But Routh is due back in court today in Florida for his attempted assassination. So now, wait a minute. We got the assassination of Brian Thompson, the CEO with United Healthcare, and the attempted assassination of President Trump in Butler, Pennsylvania, where he was clipped by a bullet from a rifle, from the assassin's rifle. The would-be assassin's rifle. And then Routh, there's Ryan Routh going to court today in Florida. He attempted to assassinate, also kind of an amazing thing. I think I see a pattern emerging here. And then, of course, the Democrats have assassinated police in suicide attacks on Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C., and New York City. Officers Ramos and Liu, massacre of police in a suicide attack in Dallas, Texas at a Black Lives Matter rally. A massacre of police in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, at another suicide attack. Yeah, they've got people self-immolating all over the place. The Democrats do, over the weather and things like that. Oh, and by the way, Congresswoman Nancy Mace was violently attacked on Capitol Hill yesterday, and the Democrats have sent a transgender person, a man dressed as a woman, to Congress, to the House of Representatives. And Nancy Mace said, we've got a gym here where women, members of Congress, are allowed to go, and there are locker rooms and showers. And I'll be damned if I'm going to be showering with a man masquerading as a woman. So Nancy Mace stepped up and said, now let's just make clear here that if you're born male, then you use the male shower room and locker room and bathroom. And if you're born female, then you use the women's bathrooms and locker rooms and shower rooms. And naturally, Nancy Mace violently attacked yesterday and injured by a lunatic who's angry, a Democrat, who's angry about Nancy Mace standing up for women's rights because the Democrat Party would kill women's rights in the ladies' locker room, I think, in maybe the ladies' shower room. Remarkable stuff. Yes, sir. So Nancy Mace attacked, Congresswoman Nancy Mace, Republican, attacked violently by a lunatic on Capitol Hill and injured. And that's not even, I believe it's not even in the Washington Post today. I don't think they even have it's everywhere, but it's not in the Washington Post because the filthies at the corrupt fake news media, they could care less about a Republican Congresswoman being violently attacked by a lunatic who has gender dysphoria issues and is a Democrat in good standing with the Democrat Party. Isn't that amazing? Yes, sir. Just remarkable stuff. Yeah. Yeah. And the Washington Post does have a front page story today on the assassination of the CEO. And their headline is, Suspect in Slaying of CEO Took Stark Turn. He took a stark turn. That's how he was such a nice boy. Everybody liked the Luigi. Luigi is such a nice boy. They pat him on the head. And I say, well, sure, naturally you want to assassinate just like Taylor Lorenz, the Washington Post, New York Times journalist, says she took joy in the murder of the CEO, and she was giggling and being snarky and laughing. She's an award-winning journalist. Those who knew him in school recall a well-liked, promising student leader. Yeah, he's 26 now. He might have just been kicked off of his Obamacare. That might be a part of it there. Remarkable stuff. And the Democrats are very angry about what happened in New York because of Daniel Penny getting into a fight on a subway with a mentally ill, crazy, drug-addicted career criminal that the Democrats support. The Democrats support the crazy, insane career criminal who's threatening women and children on a subway train, and they are contemptuous of the U.S. Marine that stopped the madness. They want more madness because they're the party of more murder, more mayhem, more anarchy, more crime, and fewer people on the subways. Maybe that's their goal, to have fewer people on the subways. But we've got lots of that going on. And speaking of the Democrats, Tren de Aragua, down in Palm Beach, Florida, close to Mar-a-Lago, the police have arrested a criminal member of Tren de Aragua, the Venezuelan gang that the Democrat Party has imported to the United States. Isn't that remarkable? And that's okay with them. They want more Tren de Aragua, the Venezuelan gang. Where are they now? In 17 states across the United States, Tren de Aragua. Also, I don't know if you've been following this, but members of, including some very famous players in the NFL and in the NBA, they're having their homes broken into and robbed while they're playing their sports on television. You can see them on television in another city, and people are breaking into their homes and stealing stuff. Police are on the lookout for Democrats in this case. But also, this is kind of a wacky thing because one of the much of the reporting in the Associated Press, these home invasions targeting NBA players and NFL players are linked to South American gangs robbing the homes of famous NFL players and NBA players. And the FBI, the headline here, Sportscasting, FBI links NBA, NFL home invasions to South American gangs. Doesn't get much more clear than that. Isn't that amazing? Yes, sir. And, of course, the Black Lives Matter people, Democrats in New York, are calling for black vigilantes to kill white people. And this is very much in the mainstream of the Democrat Party, and it's not anywhere to be found in the phony, corrupt news media. Just extraordinary stuff. I've got an update. I mentioned it yesterday, but I've got an update for you out of Haiti. I like to pronounce it Haiti, just because it's more fun that way. Didn't we meet at the student conference in Cameroon? 184 people killed in Haiti, UN says, as gang leader allegedly orders massacre of elderly on voodoo priest's advice. Voodoo priest. Just don't accuse them of eating cats in Ohio because that would be too much, but murdering 184 people in Haiti because of voodoo priest, elderly people, because a voodoo priest told them that it was these people that made your child ill. That's perfectly fine. And CBS News reporting that now. United Nations rights chief. They have a rights chief. They've got a right to our money. That's pretty much what they have a right to. And to a building in New York. United Nations human rights chief said that 184 people were killed over the weekend in the Haitian capital of Port-au-Prince. And was rocked by a spike in gang violence that pushed the death toll from Haiti's spiraling security crisis to at least 5,000. 5,000. And this past weekend, at least 184 elderly people were murdered, hacked up with machetes and knives because their gang leader was told by a voodoo priest that these old people were responsible for his son's illness. And the Democrats want to open the doors to many, many thousands and thousands of Haitians figuring, hey, what could go wrong? Why would that be an issue? That's not a thing. Mitch McConnell had a fall yesterday, the turtle. He had a fall. His shell did not protect him. He got a cut on his face. He sprained his wrist. It's bad. But he's okay. He went back to work in no time at all. Remarkable stuff. And Yeah, the Nancy Mace assault on Capitol Hill. I'm beginning to think that the Democrats have a violence problem. I don't know about you. We're at 888-630-9625. Chris here with a list of things that none of us should trust. The Washington Post, the New York Times, anything on CNN. Here's a list of things that I do trust. The Washington Times. Support real journalism for just $1 a week at washingtontimes.com/Chris. Yeah, the Democrats, I was thinking, I was having a discussion with my best girl this morning, having some snack foods, some breakfast, English muffins, some eggs, some orange juice, the usual stuff. And say, imagine, because we got this crazy 26-year-old who murdered a CEO in New York City, gunning him down after the Democrat Party whipped up crazy lefties. This is what they do. It's when you accuse President Trump of being Adolf Hitler and being a fascist and a threat to democracy, and then Democrats line up to shoot him with rifles. There's a cause and effect there. You can draw a direct line from the Democrat Party's rhetoric, their overheated, overboiled rhetoric, and the attacks on President Trump. At the same time, they're demonizing the healthcare industry, vilifying the healthcare industry, demonizing insurance companies, and demonizing CEOs. How dare they become CEOs and work hard and be successful and not get arrested and stuff. And then a CEO with a health insurance company is assassinated, and that's the correct terminology, murdered, assassinated, gunned down, targeted for political reasons. And there's a direct line between the Democrat Party's rhetoric and the assassination of Brian Thompson, right? And then you've got, and you see it all the time, the Southern Poverty Law Center, left-wing group that the media reveres. They demonized and vilified Congressman Steve Scalise, and then a Bernie Sanders volunteer, a Democrat, showed up at James Hodgkinson, was his name, before his suicide attack, and he showed up and he shot Congressman Steve Scalise, nearly killing him with an SKS rifle, a Chinese combat rifle, and he wanted to mow down an entire baseball field of Republican members of Congress, but the U.S. Capitol Police shot him to death. And then, months after that, a Democrat showed up on Capitol Hill, murdered one Capitol police officer, U.S. Capitol police officer, William Evans. And I'm beginning to think there's a pattern emerging here. The Family Research Council was demonized, pro-family, demonized by the Southern Poverty Law Center and the Democrats, and a suicidal assassin showed up at their place of business in Washington, shot one man, was then taken into custody by the man that he shot, as a matter of fact. And all of this. Now, imagine if Republicans had this pattern of behavior. Yes, Democrats. Honestly, I was talking to my best girl this morning and looking at the Democrats and the Daniel Penny story out of New York. The Democrats love the psychotic, career criminal, drug addict who's threatening to murder everybody on the subway train and relishing the idea of going back to Rikers Island, a hellhole of a prison in New York, where they put all the New York crazy criminals and violent people. And he's like, he was clamoring to go back. And the Democrat Party, and that means the media and late-night TV, they're all on the side of the psychopath on the subway train and not the former Marine who tried to prevent terrible things from happening, which is kind of remarkable. They don't like Daniel Penny. They're not with Daniel Penny, not by a long shot. And then when it comes to the assassination of a CEO with a health insurance company, they're with the murderer, and they think he's sexy, and they want to date him. And late-night TV, all of them. Saturday Night Live also did a mocking skit about the assassination of the the healthcare CEO, the insurance CEO. Remarkable stuff. They love murder. They love death more than we love life, just like Al-Qaeda, because they've got a lot in common with Al-Qaeda. But I said to my best girl, I said, imagine that the news instead was a MAGA hat-wearing, Trump T-shirt wearing, SUV driving Trump supporter with Trump stickers on the back of his car had murdered, shot, and killed on the streets of New York the CEO of Planned Parenthood. Imagine that's what happened, because the Democrats would be burning cities and overturning police cars and rioting. And let me also say this, because the Republicans on Capitol Hill, they don't know how to message and they don't know how to make political hay out of anything. They're not good at politics, as I've pointed out many times before. But if that were the case, if a MAGA hat-wearing, SUV-driving Trump supporter had shot and killed the CEO of Planned Parenthood, then the Democrats in Congress would be having special sessions and passing bills and pounding the gavel and murmuring from the back row. They'd be having candle lighting ceremonies inside the Capitol building under the dome in Statuary Hall. They'd be having gatherings on the steps outside the Capitol where some phony Democrats would pretend to cry and tears would stream down their faces. Maybe they'd wear kente cloth. Remember when they were there, the kente cloth thing, when Nancy Pelosi and they all took a knee and did the kente cloth thing? What a bunch of charlatans these people are. Amazing stuff. But the Democrats would be making such hay out of this if you just change the political equation on it this much. I'm holding my right index fingertip a half an inch over my right thumb. You change it by this much, and it's, a Republican crime instead of a Democrat crime. And the Republican crimes are extremely rare, very, very rare. And the Democrats on Capitol Hill, the politicians, their national political leadership, they always pounce on these things. Isn't that the word the media likes, pounce? And they pounce on these things, and they make political hay out of them, and they turn them into daily talking points at every dinner table across America. The Republicans, not so much. Republicans on Capitol Hill. Are they raising Cain about this? Are they having events to highlight what the Democrats have done to our culture, to our society? Because that's really what this is about in the grand scheme of things, is about what's happening to our culture at the hands of the left. Because, make no mistake, they're not liberals, they are the left. And when the left comes into your country, the third world is with them. They, they're godless, right? They despise God. If you're a high school football coach, you want to say a quick prayer after a high school football game on Friday night, the Democrats will fight you all the way to the Supreme Court to try to take away your right to say a prayer after a football game in the United States of America, because Sig Heil, meine Schatzi, because the Soviet Union lives on in the Democrat Party today. And those are the kinds of things that Republicans on Capitol Hill should be saying. And when they start assassinating CEOs, which we now have officially happening in the United States of America, and Democrats are putting up posters around Washington, D.C. with a picture of the assassination taking place of a healthcare CEO and the word hope beneath it in giant letters, because to them that's hope. It's hope and change. Remember Barack Obama. And again, I would take this if I were a Republican member of Congress, however, the Speaker of the House. I'd bring in poster boards of these hope posters and say, and this is what the Democrats are doing around Washington, D.C., the savagery, the bloodlust, the murderous, bloodthirsty Democrats who are not even condemning this, but taking joy in the murder of a father of two and a husband, and putting up posters around Washington calling it hope. Hope for what exactly? What is it that the Democrats are hoping for when they're putting up these posters around Washington, D.C., our nation's capital? And again, if you change one thing, boy, the Democrats would be making hay out of this like nobody's business. And also, the Republicans could just come out and tell the truth. You don't have to be phony and corrupt about it like the Democrats. You can just tell the truth. Also on this day, the would-be Trump assassin in Florida showing up in court. because he was captured alive, thankfully, thanks to a nice passerby that spotted the lunatic crawling out of the hedgerow where he left his rifle and his bag of food, his 12 hours of food, got into his car and raced away. And a citizen who has not been turned into a hero, we don't even know who that person is. Maybe they don't want to come forward out of fear, because just amazing stuff. Yes, sir. So we got that going. And Luigi Mangione, the Democrats might run him for office. They're going to try to find him not guilty. Last night on the late night TV, what was it, Jimmy Kimmel last night, Jimmy Kimmel came out and was reading tweets and texts from his own staff, people, about how excited they are about Luigi Mangione, and they want to go perform sex acts upon him because they're Democrats, and there's something terribly wrong with the Democrat Party. There really is. And I'll play some of that for you as well. But right now, let's go to the telephones, Michael, because there's a lot of stuff to get. And Democrats are calling for boycotts of McDonald's and demonizing McDonald's because it was a McDonald's employee that called the police when the employee recognized Luigi Mangione. And the headline is "Rats and Snitches." Snitches get stitches, according to the Democrats, who I think are all criminals. And rats, because, he got ratted out. The assassin of a CEO was ratted out, and the Democrats are furious. The McDonald's is getting threats. Honestly, everybody's getting death threats because the Democrats are violently, criminally insane. Rats and snitches, McDonald's, where police caught Luigi Mangione, flooded with negative Yelp reviews, and calling for boycotts of that McDonald's and of all McDonald's across the country because Luigi was ratted out by a McDonald's employee. Isn't that amazing? So we've got all kinds of updates for you there. And the lawyer of Luigi, who doesn't sound like he's Clarence Darrow, I've got him for you, quoting a kind of a funny movie that most people don't quote, but it was a peculiar moment for sure. Wah, wah, wah. So we got that. And the Democrats are targeting Robert F. Kennedy Jr. for destruction because Deutschland über alles, because it's who they are and it's what they do. They're the Democrat Party. They're not what they used to be. And they're not liberals. That's step number one. Got to recognize that. And they're responsible for Tren de Aragua, the Venezuelan gang, being in 17 states. They're all over Nebraska. Nebraska has a huge Tren de Aragua problem. Nebraska, right? And, again, the FBI linking South American gangs, who do you think, with a series of robberies at the homes of NFL and NBA players. And the news media doesn't cover it. They certainly don't cover it properly. And And the Democrat Party takes no responsibility because the news media would tie it around your neck, right? And the Republicans on Capitol Hill should tie it around their necks, but they don't. And there you go. All right, let's go to a telephone call. Let's go to Stanley calling from Ontario, Canada, which is in America's hat. Stanley, thank you so much for calling in. You're on the Chris Plant Show.
No, actually, thank you, Chris Plant, for allowing me on your show. You're the greatest voice of sanity and reason since the sad passing of Rush Limbaugh. I have a question for you, and it may be taking a little bit off topic, but it's been a burning question I've had for a long time, and I figured an expert like yourself might be able to answer it. If you remember when Obama was president, the state of Arizona, all they did was enact federal laws to stop the immigration flood that was taking place at that time. They were sued by Obama, and they won, saying that the state does not have the right to impede on federal law when it comes to immigration. And I'm just wondering why in the U.S. the Republicans haven't used that same ruling to flip it against these sanctuary cities and sanctuary states.
That is a fun question. I like that question. I think, sadly, the answer is because the Republicans are bad at politics.
That's unfortunately very true.
Yeah, it really is.
It's a simple one. I mean, it's right there in front of you.
And it's a gift horse that is presented to them, and they just don't know And they never learn from the Democrats, because the Democrats, as sleazy and slimy and corrupt as they are, they seize on every, look what they did with George Floyd, a career criminal resisting arrest again, and a drug addict, and everybody knows the guy, and he's a big thug and a goon, and he's assaulting the police, and he died of cardio failure while the police officer, Derek Chauvin, was following police procedure as taught in the police academy, and he was railroaded by the crooked police chief there, who's a Democrat. And if you see Minneapolis Has Fallen, a wonderful documentary on the whole thing, you see how Derek Chauvin was railroaded. And then he was thrown into prison, where he was stabbed 22 times by a Democrat in an attempted murder. And the Democrats are like, yeah, we don't care that he was stabbed 22 times. We don't care that he was not guilty of what we accused him of. We don't care. We jail political enemies. We turn these things into show trials, and it's very Soviet-style stuff. But again, the Republicans don't know how to take advantage. The Republicans don't know how to take advantage of, and they should, not just for purely partisan political reasons. They shouldn't be taking advantage of the murder of Brian Thompson, the CEO. But they should be pointing out that the Democrat Party is pouring gasoline on the flames of hatred and division every day, and they demonize Donald Trump, and we have at least 2 assassination attempts. They demonize CEOs and healthcare, the healthcare industry, and now we've got at least 1 assassination there. And it's, when are you going to call them out on it? After there are 100 of them? When do you come out and start pounding the table? And you're absolutely right about using the same. Hey, the Democrats use this. That means it would be hard for them to object to our using it, doesn't it? And you've got it tucked away. And the Democrats, they teach this. And the Republicans never learn it, right, Stanley?
Absolutely. You're absolutely correct. You're bang on. And just let me interject one point. I was watching NPR the other night about the subway incident, and they said that it was a unhoused individual who was choked to death because he was asking for change. I practically threw my back out screaming at the TV. Are you kidding me?
Right.
40 people came forward in that trial, said that their lives were threatened by this individual, and they were grateful to Mr. Daniel Penny, I think his name was, for saving their lives. Mm-hmm. And it was just a homeless man who was asking for change. Another twist to this whole cacophony of nonsense that you've been talking about this morning.
Yeah, and tragically, honestly, it is tragic, Stanley, that it comes essentially 100% from the Democrat Party and their agents provocateur that are spreading hatred and violence and contempt and normalizing mob street political violence. It was tragic that George Floyd died of cardio failure while resisting arrest yet again for yet another felony, passing counterfeit bills to an immigrant trying to make his way in the United States of America and doing a good job of it. And when criminals come along, the Democrats always saddle up with the criminals, right? And they love the criminal on the subway train. They love the criminal that's passing the counterfeit bill, George Floyd. They love the criminal that murdered the CEO. And the Democrat Party, and they despise President Trump. And it doesn't matter how many times he's shot at, how many assassins are grabbed. And again, assassin number 2 from Florida is due in court today. And the Democrats don't have anything to say about it because they're on the side of the bad guy in every instance. And the Republicans aren't good at politics, so they don't turn these things into dinner table talking points when they really should. So how's everything in Canada there today, Stanley? A little brisk up there yet?
Believe it or not, it's raining.
Is that right? Not even snow. Yeah. Wow.
No. They keep. I know the national media says there's lots of snowstorms coming, but no, it's just rain here where we are.
Yeah, here too. We've got rain for the foreseeable future here too. Stanley, thank you very much from Ontario, Canada. Beautiful Ontario, Canada. We go to St. Catharines up there. We have family in St. Catharines. We go up there sometimes by Niagara Falls. It's a big waterfall up there. We share it with Canada. That's how generous we are. Very generous and giving people. Okay, you can have that half. That's very thoughtful of us. Thank you, Stanley. We're at 888-630-9625. We've got, I got a mound, a small mountain of crazy Democrat Jews today. Yeah, the hope posters of the assassination all over D.C. That's something to see. Now we post those on Twitter and all that. We're gonna do that because this is what the Democrats have done to discourse, and they all want to date. They want to move into prison with the latest murderer. Literally, there are a bunch of them that are, I'm going to become a prison bride, and that's a man. That's on the Jimmy Kimmel show. One of his staffers, I think. These people. Let's go to another phone call, Michael. And we've got a lot of great stuff. The audio we have collected for you is wonderful. You know, Daniel Penny did an interview with Judge Jeanine Pirro on Fox News, and we've got portions of that interview for you, and we've got attorneys because a lot of Democrats, a lot of attorneys. All right, let's grab another phone call, and the media, of course. Let's go to Matt calling from St. Louis, Missouri. Matthew, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Hey, Chris. Happy birthday, Eve, and self-immolate Topia.
Thank you.
And, you're welcome. Speaking of fire, two things. First, in addition to Trump and the visiting Ainge Dr. Jill, there was a third invitation Macron and Fromage sent out. But when John Quasimodo Fetterman got it and saw that it only had a one-way ticket, he knew they were planning to put him up in the bell tower again, so he declined. Second thing, and that was
now wait a minute, John Fetterman declined an invitation to the reopening of the Cathedral of Notre Dame in Paris because he thought it was all a conspiracy to put him back in the bell tower, yelling for Esmeralda. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that's my theory. So, hey, second thing, real quick. The lefties missed a chance at Thanksgiving, but they can try again at Christmas to combine some of their favorite pastimes and traditions with their holiday celebration. They can bring all the family in, get them around, insult and call names and pick fights with the conservative ones, and then gather the ones they like around the deep fryer, throw in a frozen turkey because they're that stupid.